So in another video, I gave you kind of my thoughts and suggestions and reviews of things around Cedar Point. Well now, hey, let's talk about what's really known for, the roller coasters. Hey, my views about the coasters at Cedar Point may not necessarily be yours. I'd love to hear your views as well. Be sure to leave them in the comments below. And while you're doing it, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification so you'll know anytime I've got a new video. If you're into roller coasters or theme parks or amusement parks at all, then you probably know about Cedar Point, America's roller coast. It's got some of the biggest, baddest, fastest roller coasters on the planet. And it's a place that anybody who enjoys coasters is going to want to get to. Well, I was so blessed to be able to go. I got an invite from a gentleman who watches my videos. Thank you, Mark, because he invited me to ride along with him and spend 2 days. And we got to spend those 2 days riding everything we could at Cedar Point. And we got a lot of rides in. And of course, Cedar Point is known for its coasters. It's got a huge selection of other rides, but the coasters seem to be what so many people want to know about. So what do I think about them? Well, here's the coasters that we rode and my thoughts and reviews on them. Now, we were there on a couple days where it rained off and on both days, which actually was nice because it helped keep the crowds down. We used Fast Lane to be able to skip the lines, which for us wanting to ride was a must. We did actually skip a couple. I had been on Cedar Point Mine Ride way back when, as well as Corkscrew, and I did not get rides on those. One with Corkscrew because I really didn't want to get the headache that would come along with it. Neat looking coaster, but those poor arrow loopers anymore are just terrible. And Cedar Creek Mine Ride, well, fun family coaster. It's great, but again, I'd already been on it, so no reason to ride that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of start at the back gate over by the water park and kind of sort of start there and work a way around the park with a couple of little exceptions. The first coaster I want to talk about is Gemini. It's right there by that back gate. Gemini is a classic coaster. It's actually a steel coaster, although it has a wood structure, so a lot of people think it's wood. It's not a wood coaster. It's a steel coaster because the track is tubular steel. And it's a racing coaster. It's got two tracks right side by side, and they race each other. At least they usually do. 16 years ago when I rode it the first time, they only had one side running. And at the time, I was like, mediocre, nothing bad, but nothing great either. Well, this time I got to race with it, and what a difference it makes to race on Gemini. With that other train side by side with you, there's a couple spots you can reach out and just barely touch the hands of the people in the car next to you and slap hands. And it made it so much more fun because you're interacting with that other one and competing and yelling at them and teasing, and it just made it a blast. Even though I didn't know anybody at all in that other train, I had so much fun doing that. It turned what was just kind of an all-right coaster into a lot of fun just because of the interaction. So if you get a chance to ride Gemini, take a ride when both sides are running. If it's only one side, yeah. But I had so much fun with both sides. Next coming up around the loop is Magnum. Now Magnum was the first ever hyper coaster. 200 feet tall, and it's known for its airtime. It was also built by Arrow. For many years, it was considered the coaster. There's still a lot of people out there that consider it the coaster. My big memory of it was pain. I remember it being fun, but I remember it hurting. Well, unfortunately, that part hasn't changed, and the fun isn't quite there anymore because it's been dwarfed by so many other rides. It really was not comfortable anymore, especially the return bunny hops. Getting slammed up into that bar just did not feel good at all. I wish Cedar Point could take Magnum and somehow redo those lap bars. If they could find some sort of softer restraint, I don't know if seatbelts would work, or a different kind of lap bar that might move a little bit and give, or something. If they could change those restraints and make it more comfortable, it could make Magnum an incredibly fun ride again. Unfortunately, just with the bars in there right now, not so good. Not what it could be, that's for sure. Next, kind of coming around that loop along the side of the coast, you get to walk by the beach, and it's going to take you right to Wicked Twister. Wicked Twister, when I rode it 16 years ago, was brand new. I love impulse coasters. They are a blast with the launch back and forth and up the spikes, and it is so much fun. I loved Wicked Twisters. Unfortunately, it's not quite the same coaster it was. And I don't know if this is just because it's near the end of the season or what, but it shook and it rattled and banged a little bit. And it's just going in a straight line with a little twist. There's no reason it should be rattling the way it did. Even on the straight launches, it was still shaking constantly and my head's doing this, which you've got a shoulder restraint right there and that's not feeling good doing that. I was really surprised at the condition that Wicked Twister was in. Not good. It's a ride that is fun, should be fun, and after I came off, I was like, you know what? I don't care if I ever ride that again. It wasn't horrible, but it was not good either. The trains were not tight on the track like they should be, and it just did not ride the way it should. Very disappointing, because the coaster I liked was not the same anymore. If you've never been on it, give it a shot, but the last impulse coaster I went on 3-4 years ago was so much better than what Wicked Twister is right now. I hope they give it some TLC and kind of get it back to what it should be, not what it was. And again, maybe it was just the end of the season and it was wearing down and needing some work. I don't know. But hey, you know, at least I don't have to worry about putting on 2 trains because of capacity. That's a joke. Next up is one that I was actually really looking forward to, and that's Gatekeeper. I absolutely loved Wild Eagle at Dollywood, which was the very first swing coaster I've been on. So much fun, and so I've been looking at Gatekeeper and going, this should be cool. This should be a really neat ride. And then we get up in the station we're watching, and it's just slowly crawling through the course. Just not moving very fast at all. And I'm kind of looking at this going, wow, it almost looks like it won't make it back. That wasn't a problem, but it was just moving very slow, and that actually ended up being the biggest issue for me with it. I rode in the front on one side and the back on the other. It just crawled. Fun first drop, and then okay. It meant on the rollovers there was a lot of hang time, and after the second ride, it actually started to do something to me that I've only experienced on one other coaster ever, and that was Manta at SeaWorld. After 7 or 8 rides, I actually started to feel a little dizzy and my stomach kind of going, which was not a good feeling. I could have gone another ride or 2, no problem, but it was not an effect I liked having. And as slow as it went, it just didn't seem to do what it could. It felt like it should be going faster and doing more, and I don't know what that was or if that was normal for it, but I was not real impressed. It was a good coaster. My friends loved riding it. In fact, they had this wonderful ride where right as they were getting on, the sky broke open and it poured on them. At the same time, they really had fun with it. And I can see why people would love this coaster. It just wasn't there for me, which was kind of disappointing. Next one is another coaster that people rave about, and that's Raptor. Now, I had been on Raptor before back in 2002. So I was aware of the hard turn into the brakes. I was ready for that. And my very first ride on Raptor was awesome. It was incredible. Honestly, my first ride of the day at Raptor was better than what I remembered. I was like, dude, if this keeps going, this is going to be like one of my best coasters. It was that good. That was from the front row, and a little bit later I rode in row 2, and what a world of difference. Front row was smooth, fast, fun, exciting. I could feel the G-forces, and then in row 2, it was a headbanger the whole way. Now, I've been on enough coasters, I know how to ride defensively. I know how to adjust my head and the restraints so I can try to avoid the head restraints there. There's a way that you can either lean forward or lean back and get your head out. It didn't work on Raptor. The whole way it was bang, 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 bang. And I came off of Raptor with a headache. Oh, not good. And then, of course, then there was the brake turn. And yeah, I was ready for it. I braced for it, but it still gave me a good smack. And after all the other headbanging, it was really weird to go from this incredible, awesome ride to this, oh, not so good. If you can get the awesome ride there, Raptor can easily be one of the best coasters out there. If you get the other one, it could easily rank down a little bit on the, oh, I don't know if I want to do that again. It was really weird how, I mean, it was like a 30 to 60 minute difference. What a difference in rides. I really don't know what to make of Raptor, whether I love it or hate it. Give me a good ride and I'm on it all day. Give me the bad ride and oh, I'll never ride it again. I don't know what to think of Raptor. Right by Raptor is Blue Streak. Now, Blue Streak was actually possibly my favorite coaster when I visited back in 2002. I know, isn't that a crazy thought? Oldest coaster in the park? The only wood coaster left in the park now. Mean Streak was there then and it's gone. At the time, it was an airtime machine. I loved it. And so this time we hopped on, we got into the first car, and a lot of fun, a lot of air up front. I don't know if it was the age of the coaster, I don't know if it was the end of the season, but lots of shuffling and shaking. Nothing bad, more than it should have been. Just like it was having a hard time following the track just because of the shuffling. The gauge wasn't quite right. That could be just some wear and tear and needing a little bit of track work. It still had shots of air. It was still fun, but I had just ridden it after the headbanging ride on Raptor, and I was kind of like, wow, okay, I definitely need some ibuprofen now, which was too bad because I still love Blue Streak. And honestly, I think if I hadn't had the ride on Raptor right before, I probably would have taken a couple more rounds on it. I still enjoy it. I know what it can be, what it wants to be. A little bit of TLC on it. Part of the thing, too, is I could not tell if the tracks had been greased. The rain off and on may very well have played a role in that. They may have changed their decision on whether to grease it or how much to grease it. And that very easily could have affected how it rode that day. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. I so wanted to love it. And it was just like, okay, well, that was good, but not what you know it could be. Next up around the bend was Valraven. Valraven is very, very similar to SheiKra down at Busch Gardens. Of course, working at Busch Gardens, I was on SheiKra all the time. Valraven is about 20 feet higher. It's a mirror image, which means if you take SheiKra's layout and you just flip it, and that's Valraven, with a couple little changes. Instead of the splashdown and the helix at the end, Valraven's actually got a big speed hump to give you a little bit of airtime. Other than that, it's almost exactly the same coaster. And it rides just like SheiKra does, which for me was a good thing. I loved SheiKra. I got a ton of rides on SheiKra when I was in Florida, and Valraven is just like it. I could sit on that coaster all day over and over and have a blast. Absolutely loved Valraven. Great coaster, great drop, love the holding brake, and just a ton of fun. Right over on the left side in the back, and I think you'll probably have a little more fun. It's kind of the opposite of SheiKra down in Florida, where I go right side back, go left side on Valraven. Just a lot of fun and a great coaster. Great addition. That was one of the highlights of my trip. Next up was Iron Dragon. Now, Iron Dragon was the only coaster opened in the rain when I was there back in 2001. This time when it rained, Iron Dragon was shut down. It was kind of funny. But they did open up Iron Dragon in the evening for the VR ride. Now, I've never done a coaster with the VR on, so this was different. Virtual reality glasses while you're riding a coaster, you know, hey, kind of neat, kind of new, let's give it a shot. The first thing I found out when I was riding was I almost wanted to hold on to these glasses the whole time to make sure they didn't fall. They were tight. The nervousness in me, I guess, wanted to hold them. I ended up a little disappointed. It was an interesting storyline. You start off behind a horse in a carriage, and then as you go up the lift hill, which is this wood bridge, you end up getting picked up by a dragon, and he's holding your cart, while the bridge is attacked by giants, except they were attacking in slow motion and throwing rocks, and one giant falls through the bridge, slow. It was really kind of sad. It could have been a neat storyline if you weren't constantly in slow motion and see a rock fly at you really slow while you're going past. I really ended up feeling that the virtual reality took away from the coaster itself. By the time I got back, I think I would have rather ridden without the VR and just said, ditch the glasses, let me see. The other problem with VR is it makes the line so long because it takes forever for them to get everybody loaded up on the train and get the glasses on and positioned and all that. And it was nice for what it was, but honestly, guys, ditch the VR. Leave it as it is. It's a better ride without it. And then there's Rougarou, also known as Mantis version 2. Mantis in its original state as a stand-up coaster is actually on my worst coasters ever list. If you watch that video, Mantis was horrible, terrible, hated it. And then Cedar Point converted it to a floorless coaster and renamed it Rougarou. And what a world of difference it makes. It went from being terrible to a really good ride. I had a great time riding Rougarou. It was smooth, it was fun, you didn't have to worry about a trim brake on the drop. It just had a ball with it. I'm like, okay, this I could do again. Much, much improved ride. So Rougarou gets a couple big thumbs up. If there is an award for the most improved coaster out there, Rougarou would definitely qualify for it because it's that much better. Terrible to great. Wonderful ride the way it is now. After that, we hit the big four. These are probably the four most talked about roller coasters at Cedar Point. The ones that everybody raves about and occasionally hates on and wants to know. The first one was actually one I wasn't even sure I was going to get to ride, and that's Top Thrill Dragster. Top Thrill Dragster is finicky with weather, and I knew we had rain off and on, which was going to make it a nifty proposition. And then even when the weather's not an issue, mechanical issues are. So there was really kind of a, please Lord, let this coaster be open, let me ride it. Lo and behold, I didn't just get one ride, we got 3 on, including a front row. And Top Thrill is everything that people say it is. It is an awesome launch. It's fast, and yes, your skin flaps a little bit, as you can see on the picture here. They take pictures on your way out and on your way back in. It is so tall and fast, though, you are literally almost at the bottom before you even realize you were at the top. If you're worried about being afraid of heights, don't worry with Top Thrill Dragster. You honestly don't even have a chance for it to sink in that you're up high before you're down and done. It is quick, it is fast, it is fun, it's an adrenaline kick like nothing else, but I can see why people would want it to be a little bit longer. Still, awesome, incredible ride for what it is. Definitely up there is one of my favorites. Next to that is another one that's a lot of people's favorites. It's been around for a while. It is the very first Giga coaster, meaning 300 feet high, and that's Millennium Force. If you watched my favorite coasters video, I talked about Millennium Force and not being quite what some people make it out to be, and after getting a chance to finally rewrite it, and we got several rides in, I can say this about Millennium Force. It is exactly pretty much what I remembered it to be. It had 3 shots of airtime. I thought only remembered 2, but it actually has 3 if you ride in the back. And they're not bad, they're not long. It's high, it's got a fantastic drop, but it is really all about speed and going fast and being down near the surface and in the tunnels and zipping quickly. And for that, it is awesome. Now, I'm an airtime person. I wish it had a little more airtime and could have done more with that. It's like you've got all this speed and you didn't do anything with it other than you went fast. But it's still a really cool coaster. And I can see why people love it so much. We had, like I said, several rides, and I don't re-ride a coaster that I don't enjoy. And I certainly don't rewrite it more than twice if I don't really enjoy it. So I do really enjoy Millennium Force. But it just leaves me with this weird feeling of wanting something a little bit more. That then kind of brings me around to Maverick. Maverick was actually the very first roller coaster we rode on this trip. We came in the back gate, we went right to Maverick, we waited for it to open, and we were on the 4th train out for the day. Technically the 2nd loading cycle, but it was the 4th train, and had the front row ready to go. And I came off of Maverick after that time with its launches and snap turns and just loved it. In fact, if you watch the video, I actually sit there and say, great coaster. If I were going to add coasters to my best list, that would be up there. Yeah, lots and lots of fun. Loved it. And we went back around a little bit later and rode it again and rode in the back, and it was not quite the same coaster that time. Honestly, in the back, the snap turns really snap hard. And I was grateful that it had soft shoulder restraints, that kind of more like a strap. As much as it was snapping, you could still feel those kind of hit your neck and not feel real good. I can't even imagine what this thing would have been like with hard shoulder restraints. Oh my goodness, that would have been like torturous pain. It would have hurt so bad. It's a good thing they've got the restraints on it. They do. But even so, in the back, I just was not enjoying it anywhere near as much. Trying to brace for the snaps and getting ready for it. So I learned kind of quickly, ride it up near the front. And up near the front, it was still fun. I still, again, didn't get another ride quite as good as that first one. The first one was awesome. And if I'd only had the first one, Maverick would easily be one of my top coasters ever. But because of the other rides, it kind of comes down just a little bit into the next tier where, you know, very good, excellent, almost fantastic. And it was fun. Like I said, we got several rides in. I don't re-ride coasters I don't enjoy. But I definitely did learn that you kind of have to brace a little bit for those snap turns and be ready for them, because it'll whip you around and it can cause a little bit of pain. But if you're up near the front, fantastic, fun ride. Love that it zips right by the water. It's easily one you can see why some people would have it as their favorite, and you can also see why some people would hate it to death. It can definitely fall either way. Then, of course, the last coaster, that would be Steel Vengeance. This is the one that people are talking about, raving about, traveling to the park for. Steel Vengeance was built on the site where Mean Streak used to stand. It uses a huge wood structure, but it's not a wood coaster, really. The track is steel, meant to feel a little bit like a wood coaster, but much smoother. And there's a reason people rave about this ride. It has the most airtime of any other coaster in the world. It is insane. It's got this hugely steep drop. It's fast. You honestly don't know which way you're going half the time. It is crazy, and I absolutely loved it. There's a reason people are raving about this, and it immediately came up into my top 4 or 5 coasters. Interestingly enough, 3 of those are actually all built by the same company. Yes, Rocky Mountain Coaster builds great coasters, and this one is no exception. I don't know if I can quite put it as my favorite. Some of that will depend upon mood. There's times I would say absolutely, and other times, not quite so much, because it's not quite perfect. The turn right before the mid-course break is sharp and jolting, and my poor friend that was riding with me, it physically hurt him. Honestly, I think he probably bruised a couple ribs riding because of that one turn. So it can be a bit painful. It didn't faze me because I'm a little bit smaller. It could definitely be seen how that was a more violent turn. The only other thing I really had with it was the bunny hills on the way back in at the end of a long, intense, crazy ride could almost be a little bit painful. They didn't bother me so much because in the course of everything else, it was just fantastic. But it was just a little much at the end, and by the time you get to that 5th one, you're kind of going, okay, I'm ready for that part to stop and be done. Just an amazing, amazing roller coaster. Steel Vengeance is easily worth the trip. In fact, Steel Vengeance would be the one reason I would tell you get a Fastlane Plus, because it is that good. That way you can skip the lines. Just an awesome, awesome roller coaster. And so grateful we got to ride it. We actually got in 7 rides over the course of 2 days, even with weather and everything else. Wonderful. I'd love to get back just for that one roller coaster. That's kind of my thoughts about the coasters at Cedar Point. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I would love to hear your thoughts and comments. Please don't forget to share them below. Hey, hit that like button too and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much to my patrons, too, for helping make this trip possible, as well as to Mark for bringing me along. I am so appreciative. If you want to know more about Patreon and my other pages, like fan pages and stuff, or the gear I use, please don't hesitate to check the links below. There's all sorts of stuff in the description, so follow that. Thank you so much, and God bless. And hey, while you're at it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And hey, oh my goodness. You can make whatever that is. My phone is going crazy. Yes, but I've got the church card and I'm recording videos right now. I love impulse coasters. I love impulse The turn right before the mid-course break. Don't curse it. Okay, I think that's going to work. Oh, this is going to be some work. I've got 4 videos to put together and splice into 2. Yay!